Once upon a time, a long time ago, there lived a very humble king who loved his people. The king was troubled. His people cried out of hunger, and the land had been parched for too long. Enemies pounded at their borders, and bandits attacked their travelers. The king longed for a visit from the guardian wizard always sent by the gods of the land to protect his people. A magical figure known to mysteriously appear at times of trouble to give comfort and guidance. If there was a time for the gods to send the wizard, this is it. This is the right time, exclaimed the king. Desperate, the king announced a proclamation. Anyone who could show him the wizard would be richly rewarded. Now, in the kingdom lived a poor man who was vexed and beset with troubles of his own. He was very much in debt and worried that his family could never climb its way out of life of hunger and poverty. When he heard the king's announcement, he came straight away to the palace. Your Majesty, may you reign forever. I will show you the wizard, declared the poor man, though it may take some time. How long? Said the king. For 40 days, he said. But to complete the task, I would need the money in advance. Very well then, says the king. Of course, you realize that if you fail to show me the wizard in 40 days, you will lose your head. I understand, said the poor man. And so an arrangement was drawn and signed. The king issued orders to release the money, and the court attendants handed over the money to the poor man. Easy, the poor man returned home with amazed feelings. He paid back all his creditors and gave his wife the balance of the money. Then he settled down as best he could for what remained of the money he had. On the morning of the 40th day, he said to his wife, Chiamaka, my beloved wife, is the day I will be executed. Alas, she cried, it must be so. Please take care of the kids. Tell them I love them, and I shall always be with you in spirit. And then Eze left for the palace. At the palace, Eze, the poor man, was greeted with much fanfare and was quickly ushered to the king. Now, boom, the king to the man who stands before him in his great hall. I have waited long. I have waited and waited for you. The 40 days has expired today. Where is the wizard? He is not here, said the unhappy man. Your Majesty, did you really imagine I could call up the wizard from the gods? I was in debt and at my wits' end, and I renounced my life. Now I have come here on my own feet and of my own free will for you to cut off my head. What? Cried the king. Taken back, he summoned his 4 chiefs for advice. As they seated themselves around the king, an old man entered the chambers at the back of the great hall. Long live your majesty. It will serve him right if you cut up his flesh with scissors. Says the king. The second chief proclaimed, it will be only right that you should put him up in the baker's oven and let him burn to death. Exclaimed the king. Then the third of them rose and declared, it deserves to be cut up into little pieces with razor. The fourth chief said, O king, may you live long, your majesty, the wisest of all kings that have ever reigned. This man has played fairly. He came back as he said he would, knowing he faced the end of his life. How many others would do the same? I would be inclined to set him up with some money so that he could start up his life anew. The king frowned and turned to his chiefs. Very different advice. How am I supposed to figure this out? Then he noticed the old man at the back of the chambers. You, in the back, he said, what do you have to say? Your Highness, I might say, says the old man, standing, that your first chief was by origin a tailor, for all his talk of scissors, and the second was formerly a baker, for his speaks of ovens, and the third a barber, with all his talks of razors. As far as the fourth, only he speaks as one who comes from a long line of chiefs. For in truth, it was out of desperation that this man put up his head in jeopardy, and he returned to your court of his own volition, knowing his fate. Rather than punish him, your fourth chief suggested that you help him to rebuild a useful life. The old man rose and spread his robe. And now, behold, you have seen the wizard. The speaker vanished, and all those in court gasped. That was the wizard sent by the gods? Without a doubt he is. Immediately, the king ordered his attendants to search the ground to find the wizard, but he had already vanished. I can't believe the wizard disappeared before I could ask him for help, groaned the king. Why didn't I catch him by the sleeve while he was still here? With the poor man still standing, awaiting his fate, the king decided that the very least he could do was to abide by whatever advice, however fleeting, he had received from the wizard. So the king presented the flabbergasted poor man with a village and some money. Stunned by the unexpected turn of events, he quickly rushed home to his family. Then the king drove out the three chiefs, keeping only the fourth. Thanks to the good counsel of the fourth chief, before long the fortunes of the kingdom were reversed for many years thereafter. The wizard's advice helped the king to rule the land wisely and well.